Life has a way of testing our patience in ways we cannot always understand. There are seasons when everything slows down, when opportunities seem far away, and when silence feels heavier than words. These are the times when waiting becomes our only companion. We look at others moving ahead, achieving milestones, and chasing their dreams, while we stand still on a quiet path, unsure of when our turn will come. But let me tell you, waiting is not weakness, and silence is not absence. Within the stillness of waiting lies a hidden gift and opportunity to breathe, to reflect, to listen to the whispers of your soul, and to prepare yourself for what is yet to come. The pause is not a punishment. It is preparation, shaping you for a destiny greater than what you can see right now. The truth is, every great soul in history endured long moments of waiting, moments when the world doubted them, when even their closest companions could not see what they were fighting for. And yet, they did not surrender to despair. Instead, they embraced the stillness and found strength in it. A profound example of this truth can be seen in the life of Imam Hussain ibn Ali, the beloved grandson of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. His story at Karbala is not merely about sacrifice. It is about patience, resilience, and the unshakable courage to remain steadfast in the face of unbearable silence and uncertainty. Imagine the scene. Imam Hussain knew the road to Karbala would not be paved with comfort. He was fully aware that his stance against tyranny and injustice would lead him to a destiny written in blood and sacrifice. Yet, before the sword struck, before the arrows flew, there was a long journey of waiting. Days in the desert where the sun scorched, where thirst grew heavier with each passing moment, and where hope seemed far away. Hussain could have given in. He could have turned back, but he understood that the pause, the waiting, was not empty. It was building within him the strength to stand as a beacon of justice for all time. The silence before the storm was preparing him to leave behind a legacy that would outlive empires. In your own life, when you feel as though nothing is moving, when prayers go unanswered and doors remain closed, remember Karbala. Remember that Imam Hussain did not rush into his fate. He endured the waiting with dignity and faith. He embraced the stillness because he trusted that God was writing a story far greater than the hardship before him. The desert nights of Karbala, filled with uncertainty and silence, became the very foundation upon which his eternal victory was built. Waiting prepared him to become a symbol of resistance, of truth standing against falsehood, and of light piercing the deepest darkness. When you feel trapped in the in-between, when the path ahead seems unclear, ask yourself, what is this silence teaching me? The pause is not a void, it is space to grow. Just as a seed waits in the dark soil before breaking forth into the light, so too do we wait in life's pauses before we blossom into our purpose. Imam Hussein's example teaches us that the desert of waiting is not wasted. Every drop of patience is shaping your character, strengthening your resolve, and refining your spirit. Without waiting, you cannot step fully into the destiny that awaits you. Think about it. If Imam Hussain had chosen the easier path, if he had bowed to tyranny to avoid pain, history would have forgotten his name. The world would never have witnessed the courage of Karbala. But because he endured the silence, because he embraced the stillness and the waiting, his sacrifice became immortal. He transformed his pause into power, his waiting into wisdom, and his silence into an everlasting cry for justice. And that is why centuries later, his story still awakens the hearts of millions, reminding us that even in the darkest pauses of life, we are never abandoned. So my friends, when life slows down, do not curse the silence. Do not despise the waiting. Instead, see it as a sacred space, a preparation ground for what lies ahead. Let Imam Hussein's life remind you that every moment of stillness can carry the seeds of greatness. Do not rush the process. Do not lose faith. For the pause is not a dead end. It is the turning point where strength is born, where courage is refined, and where destinies are shaped. And just as Karbala taught us, the stillness before sacrifice is often the very soil where victory takes root. There comes a time in every person's journey when the weight of waiting feels almost unbearable. The mind begins to whisper, maybe you are forgotten. maybe your effort is in vain. Maybe the silence means nothing is coming. This is the battlefield within, the struggle to hold on when everything tells you to let go. Yet it is precisely in these seasons of stillness that your true character is tested and refined. The world may applaud action, noise, and speed, but greatness is often forged in the quiet spaces where no one is watching. The silence is where faith grows, and it is where true leaders are made. If we look again to Karbala, we find that Imam Hussain ibn Ali faced this test with unshakable grace. His decision to rise against oppression was not sudden or impulsive. It was preceded by contemplation, prayer, and patience. The night before the Battle of Ashura, when the sands of Karbala lay heavy with anticipation, Hussein gathered his companions and gave them a choice: to stay with him and face certain death, or to leave in the cover of night and save themselves. Imagine the weight of that silence, the stillness of waiting for their choice. In those moments, Hussein was not only waiting for the dawn of battle, he was waiting for the hearts of men to reveal their truth. Those who remained did so not because of force, but because their spirits had been strengthened in the stillness. That night was not empty. It was a crucible where loyalty, courage, and faith were tested. This moment reminds us that waiting is not passive, it is active preparation. Every season of waiting equips you for what lies ahead. Just as the companions of Hussein were refined by the silence of that night, you too are being refined in your waiting. Do not think the pause is wasted time. The pause is training your spirit, clarifying your purpose, and strengthening your heart. When life holds you back, it is not always denial. It is often divine preparation. Consider your own struggles. Perhaps you are waiting for a career breakthrough, for healing, for love, or for clarity in your life's direction. Each day that passes may feel heavy, each unanswered prayer like a stone upon your chest. Yet in this stillness, something sacred is happening. You are being invited to trust the unseen, to anchor yourself not in outcomes, but in faith. This is not easy, but it is the very path walked by Hussein, who trusted God even when everything before him screamed of loss and pain. He showed us that waiting is not weakness, it is strength in its purest form. There is another layer to this truth. Waiting is not only about preparing yourself, but also about preparing the world around you. Hussein's stance at Karbala did not simply shape his own destiny, it reshaped the conscience of humanity. By enduring the silence, by waiting without compromise, he prepared the world to recognize the difference between justice and tyranny, between truth and falsehood. The pause before his sacrifice gave birth to a message that would echo across centuries, awakening hearts in every age. Your waiting too is not only about you, it is about what your patience will mean for others. Your stillness may be the seed that inspires someone else's strength, just as whose stillness inspires us today. Let us reflect further on the night before Ashura. While others slept, Hussein spent his time in prayer, reciting verses of the Quran and seeking closeness to God. The desert was quiet, yet his heart was alive with devotion. That silence was not empty, it was filled with presence, purpose, and peace. When you find yourself waiting, follow this example. Do not let the silence become despair. Fill it with meaning. Use it to strengthen your faith, sharpen your vision, and prepare your spirit. Waiting is a gift if you choose to see it as such. Too often we rush through life, desperate for quick answers and instant success. But the wisdom of Karbala teaches us that some victories require time. Some transformations need silence. Hussein's legacy was not built in a single moment. It was shaped by every step, every pause, every prayer, and every moment of waiting. If you feel that your life is on hold, remember that patience is not about doing nothing. It is about doing the deep work that prepares you for what comes next. The stillness is shaping you into the person capable of carrying the destiny you long for. Think of the river that carves valleys through mountains. It does not rush. It moves steadily, quietly over time, shaping landscapes that endure for ages. Your waiting is like that river. It may feel slow, but it is carving strength into your soul, shaping you for a future far greater than what you can imagine. Imam Hussein's patience before Karbala was like that river, slow, steady, unyielding. And when the moment came, his strength was unshakable. So, do not despise the quiet seasons of your life. They are not evidence of abandonment. They are evidence of preparation. Trust that the pause is carrying you toward your Karbala, your defining moment, your chance to stand for truth, your opportunity to rise with courage. And when that moment comes, you will look back at the silence and realize it was never empty. It was the foundation of your victory. When we speak of waiting, we must also speak of trust. Trust is what transforms waiting from a burden into a blessing. Without trust, silence feels like abandonment, and stillness feels like stagnation. But with trust, silence becomes sacred, and stillness becomes strength. Imam Hussain ibn Ali embodied this truth in its purest form. On the day of Ashura, surrounded by an army that outnumbered him 100-fold, deprived of water and carrying the weight of his family's suffering, Hussain did not waver. He did not cry out in despair, asking why he had been left in such agony. Instead, he anchored himself in trust. His waiting was not filled with doubt. It was filled with certainty that God was with him, even in the silence of the desert. This is where waiting becomes transformative. It teaches you to release your need for control and to lean into faith. In your life, when prayers seem unanswered and the path ahead remains hidden, remember Hussein's example. He trusted the process, even though it led him to unimaginable pain. He believed that truth would outlive falsehood, even if he did not live to see it. That is the power of waiting with trust. It allows you to plant seeds that you may never harvest, yet knowing that the garden will bloom for generations to come. We must also recognize that waiting is not weakness, it is courage. It takes courage to resist the urge to settle for less, to compromise your values, or to rush in the paths not meant for you. Hussein could have chosen compromise. He could have bowed to Yazid to save his life and the lives of his loved ones. Many would have excused such a choice as practical, even wise. But Hussein understood that to rush towards safety at the cost of truth was to betray everything he stood for. He chose instead to wait, to endure, and to embrace the stillness of sacrifice, knowing that his patience would speak louder than 1,000 armies. His courage was not only in the sword he carried, but in the patience with which he endured the waiting. Think of your own journey. There may be times when the easiest path is to compromise your values, to cut corners, or to silence your truth for the sake of comfort. But if you can learn to wait, to endure the stillness without giving in, you will find that your courage will shine brighter than any quick victory. Waiting refines your integrity. It forces you to ask yourself, what do I truly stand for? Just as Hussein stood for justice and refused to bend, so too can you stand for your values even when silence surrounds you. And let us be clear, waiting is not forever. Every season has its time. The night may feel long, but dawn always comes. The silence of Karbala did not last forever. The cries of injustice echoed across the centuries, awakening hearts and stirring movements. Hussein's waiting ended not in defeat, but in an eternal victory that still inspires millions around the world today. Your waiting, too, has an end. The pause is not endless. It is leading you somewhere. You may not see the full picture now, but when the pieces fall into place, you will look back and realize that the silence was necessary. Without the waiting, you would not have been ready. Let us also take wisdom from the companions of Hussein. They teach us that waiting is not endured alone. On the night before Ashura, they waited with him in the silence of the desert, strengthening one another with faith and devotion. This shows us that in our own waiting, we must surround ourselves with people who lift us up, who remind us of our values, and who keep our spirits strong. Isolation can make waiting feel heavier than it is. But when you share the silence with those who believe in you, the waiting becomes bearable, even beautiful. Seek companions who remind you of Hussein's courage, who help you stay strong when you feel weak, and who anchor you in hope when despair whispers in your ear. Now, imagine if Hussein had despised the waiting. Imagine if he had seen the stillness as wasted time, if he had cursed the silence, or if he had rushed to save himself, history would have lost its greatest lesson in patience and sacrifice. But because he embraced the pause with trust, his story became immortal. This is the gift of waiting. It transforms ordinary lives into extraordinary legacies. Your pause may feel hidden today, but if you endure with patience and faith, it may one day inspire generations. So, what do we learn from this? We learn that waiting is not a gap in life. It is life itself. It is in the pauses, the silences, and the stillness that our souls are tested and strengthened. Just as Hussein's silence before the Battle of Karbala was the foundation of his eternal victory, your silence today may be the foundation of your tomorrow's triumph. Do not rush it. Do not despise it. Embrace it as a sacred part of your journey. As you walk away from this message, I invite you to reflect on your own season of waiting. Where do you feel stuck? Where does silence weigh heavily on your heart? Instead of fighting it, open yourself to it. Trust that the pause is preparing you, shaping you, and aligning you with a destiny greater than what you see now. Remember the lesson of Karbala. The stillness is never empty. It is alive with meaning, purpose, and preparation. When you feel tired, remember Hussein. When you feel forgotten, remember his patience. When you feel the silence pressing down, remember that his silence became the loudest cry for justice in history. If he could endure with grace, so can you. And one day, you will look back and see that the pause was never a burden. It was a blessing in disguise. So let us embrace waiting not as wasted time, but as sacred preparation. Let us find peace in the stillness, strength in the silence, and courage in the pause. And like Hussein at Karbala, let us transform our waiting into a legacy of truth, justice, and unwavering faith.